have three panel discussion. We are not here for any lecture and all that, but we have three very good panel discussion. And in between, around 4:30, the director will also join. So I hand over the mic to Lalit for
due to this alumni meet. One of the complaints all of us have had as DITians or NSITians or whatever else we identify ourselves with is that our college has alumni who are in many good places, but there is no such alumni activity per se, and we see this meet as something of a start or a foundation for doing something bigger in that direction. And I'm from the 1995 computer engineering batch, and I welcome all of you to this alumni meet. And let's start. So that you have a sense of what you are getting into and what will happen after the first thing that starts. So after this particular welcome address, we will start a panel discussion on entrepreneurship, which will be on taking the technology track after NSIT. Because all said and done, no matter how hot the idea of starting a startup is today, we are an engineering college, and at some level, what attracts youngsters who passing out of 10+2 in flying colors is our reputation as being a great place to do engineering. For even people who passed out a couple of years back to see what is happening and listen to what people who have pursued the technology track in their own different ways after NSIT have done. And there will also be one panel discussion on women in technology. That's a topic which a lot of people will have different views about. Coming out of engineering colleges, but as a software engineer or as a technology entrepreneur who's a hiring manager, we see that not so many women actually persist in the technology industry on technical tracks. So we have Monadika, who's a recent part of the society, anchoring the track on women in technology. So on that note, I shall let Monadika announce and a sort of welcome address that she's prepared for all of us. And after that, we shall introduce the different people who are on the stage. Some of them, around 5 of them, shall be there immediately after this welcome address in the technology and entrepreneurship track. The others are there in various other tracks, anchored by various other people. And that is it. Bhatia sir said that let everybody come onto the stage once and tell the world who they are, so that everybody knows who is going to be in different tracks. Of course, they are not all the people who are in different tracks, but I just invite everybody to just say their name and batch so that no matter which batch you are from, you know who is who.
Amit Arora. I'm from same batch as Lalit MPA. We were the first MPA batch to pass out from this campus. And we were the first batch to pass out from this campus also. We joined, when we came here it was 4th year, so we were in the Kashmiri Gate campus. I'm into different kind of businesses. I'm into liquor. I sell a lot of liquor. All the duty free you see in India, you know, at Delhi Airport, Bombay Airport, Chennai, Kolkata, we do all those. We are into food and beverage. I run a lot of restaurants. Almost all the airports again are with us. Into distributorship of cigarettes. I am my biggest distributor of sorry, all the nothing related to MPA and all that stuff. I went to IIM Bangalore after MPA, and I did the most difficult thing. When I passed out, I was the only unemployed guy from this campus. That's about it, yeah.
He's just chatting that he'll be the most popular speaker on this panel, which is kind of things he's involved in. I'm Varun, 2004 Electronics and Communication. After that, I went outside India to do my master's in computer science, and then I started a company called Aspiring Minds. That's what I'm doing for the last 8 years. And just one comment on what Nalan was saying, that startup and technology is not that they are divorced with each other. You can be doing technology and startup at the same time. And that's what a lot we do in Aspiring Minds. So we're happy to talk about it more later.
I'm
I'm Pankaj Jain, 1988-92 batch IC. Also the first batch of IC engineering. Old campus. I worked with Tata Telecom in Bombay, Baroda. Then I got a full scholarship to do my MBA at University of Leeds, where I went. And went Alcatel to Paris, and then to Alcatel Bangalore in Tata Telecom, the corporate office. Then, since my University of Leeds wanted me to head the India office, so I started the University of Leeds South Asia office in '99. I headed the office for 11 years. Now we work for all UK universities, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand. We recruit students who want to go abroad to study.
Hi, my name is Abhinav. I'm from the Computer Sciences batch of the year 1992. Passed out in '92 actually. Two other associations that I have with NISIT, my wife also studied from here. Same batch. ये मेरा साला है. She did instrumentation in the same batch. That's my wife. And now my eldest. So post college, I joined CDOT. Was there for 8 years. Then I started, not started exactly. I started to work for an incubator. Did that for 8 years. Started 14 companies. Tried many more ideas, but 14 companies actually, came to life. In parallel, I did a PhD from IIT Delhi. Again, because Mona was doing a PhD, घर में इज्जत रखनी थी, तो मैंने भी PhD किया. And then, I did an MBA from IIM. ज़्यादा पढ़ लिख गया, तो शायद बहुत अच्छा नहीं कर रहा अभी. But joined Spice after that. The last job that I held was in Spice. I was the head of strategy and technology. It's a $2 billion company with 2 listed entities, one in Singapore and one in Mumbai. Essentially into 5 businesses: mobility, education, entertainment, finance, and healthcare. So these are the 5 verticals that this company used to be in. Left my job in July 2014 and trying to figure out what to do. So have started a small incubator with 4 companies inside it. And I also support Mona in an education company that she's doing, which turned profitable last year. So trying to do some more things, going forward. Let's see what's in store.
Hello everyone, this is Ajit. I am from 2007 Electronics and Communications batch. From the past 2.5, I've been running my company with an MSI Anup, again a 2007 Electronics. So we probably do the most boring thing among these guys. We actually design electronics for industries. So we have been working at it for 2.5 years. So far has been very good. The response of customers have been very good, and generally having a lot of fun in life, building stuff like we're meant to be probably while doing engineering. Prior to that, I have held various jobs. I have done business research, I have done corporate strategy. So left all that and went back to electronics. So that's it. Thank you.
Hey guys, I'm Ravish. I'm from the Computers batch in 2012. I actually started a company in my 3rd year over here with my batchmate Shank. We used to build out mobile apps. Some of our own ideas, some with some other people. We shut that down in 2013 when I joined the founding team of Haptic, which is a personal assistant over chat. I've just left that in December. I'm currently on sabbatical, which is code for saying, which is code for saying I'm unemployed right now. So figuring out what to do next.
Hello everyone, I'm Gaurav, 2002 electronics batch. I went abroad for my PhD, and a few years back I started a company called MLabs Research. We work on the intersection of research and education. On research front, we work on fundamental research on electronics, and on education, we're working on designing modules to make it easy for everyone to learn, not just electronics, but the entire state of things.
On stage. Let me start the discussion on entrepreneurship and startups, after which we'll have other panel discussions. And there are more people also who will come on stage and participate in those panel discussions. So wait and watch what this afternoon holds. Thanks. So I'll ask Amit Arora, Pankaj Jain, Varun Agarwal, Ajit Singh, and Ravish to remain on the stage, and the others are going to come back up for a subsequent panel discussion. People are doing. How many people are here who passed out before 2010? Okay. How many people are here who passed out before 2000? Great. How many people are here who passed out and have now subsequently taken the path of entrepreneurship? Great. I'm sure, let me hope and let me pray that this goes well and you all enjoy it. We'll try to have something for everybody, and we'll do the discussion in such a way that after the discussion or even during the discussion, we'll encourage you to raise your hands, and if you have any questions for the panelists, you can just go, we'll send the mic to you and you can ask them. So that will keep the meet interactive and hopefully interesting for all of us. Yeah, let's start. So this particular panel discussion is about entrepreneurship and startups. And the thing is that people today, when they see these, a company like Flipkart started by a bunch of youngsters from IIT, they say, okay, entrepreneurship, startup, own business, all three are the same thing. But I would say that they are not all the same thing, because even after you sort of start a business or you own a business, there are different and very diverse directions things can go in, and that is one reason why we have this panel here, which we've tried to keep as diverse as possible and not fill it up just with the very typical people like me. I'm also an entrepreneur, by the way, and I also started a company, and I also have a story to tell, which hopefully I'll get a chance to share with you all. And so I like to think that I'm the very typical stereotype techie, the guy with glasses who was always doing programming in college, who people said will do something, do something, do something. He did something. It's something, but it's not something huge or great yet. But all the same, I would say that there are lots of different directions from which entrepreneurship or startups or starting your own business can be approached. And that's why we have this diverse panel with us. And on that note, since you already know these people's names and a bit about their backgrounds, I'll invite each one of them to take, say, 2 or 3 or 4 minutes to share what they did when they came out of college and how they got into starting a startup. So we jump right into the thick of things, right on. So let me start with Ravish.
I started out, like I mentioned, in my third year over here. Fun fact, I nearly dropped out in my first year. I wanted to be a sports journalist. My mom essentially said, there's no way on earth you're letting you do that. So during the summer of 2009, I actually interned at Mobile ESPN. So if you guys had Vodafone back then, I was the guy during the ICC T20 World Cup who was sending you the messages of the score updates. My boss said something to me which pushed me away from being a sports journalist, which was, you're being paid 7,000 rupees a month for this, you're earning 30 crores and Vodafone is earning 300 crores out of it. And that's the point at which I was like, you know what, I can build this stuff. I got into mobile apps specifically because I loved it. I loved them in general. I had a Nokia 95. So I just decided, let me see what I can do to start building these things out. To be honest, I hated my college syllabus. That's just honest opinion. I felt that I was being restrained in a lot of ways in terms of what I wanted to do and what I wanted to build out. So me and a classmate decided we're just going to take out whatever time we can every now and then to build out some of our own things. So that's how we first started building out a number of our own applications, just to scratch our own itches. Over a period of time, this became a thing that we're going to do this in a much more sustained way. We're trying to make it a business. We were horrible at it. He finally got a job at Microsoft, and he decided that I have to go down this route. We tried to make it work, but it became too much of a problem for me to run everything by myself, which is why I shut that down, and I had the real opportunity of sorts to join Haptic's founding team. Those guys were my mentors, both after and Swapam. They were looking for someone else to come and build something out for them. That's how I essentially ended up joining them. It's been an interesting ride. It's been addictive, if not. I should mention that it's been a lot of sleepless nights, a lot of depression almost at times in between, but it's been interesting to say the least.
My story is a little different. I got a very good job in SIT, like most of you guys had, and so did my partner. He was in Texas Instruments. I was in a company called Grail Research. Paid us very well. Both of them were fast-growing companies, so enjoyed very good growth for 3.5, 4 years. After that, I actually went into corporate strategy, which is probably a dream job for MBAs, but I got through somehow and enjoyed there for 2 years. But I mean, one of the common things that came between Anup and I was that we both loved machines, and we both had come from a background of families where our families owned factories. So we have a love for machines, and that's when we got together and thought about automating a lot of processes. So our parents own very small industries. So generally we thought about automating those processes so that small industries could compete with bigger industries. So that's how the genesis of our company started. It has been a fun journey. Challenges obviously, but I'm a firm believer that if you work with as much sincerity as you're working in a job, you can pretty much make it in your own company. There's a huge demand for skilled people in India, and the skills you get in engineering, or just the skills you can acquire by just being on the net or learning something, is probably. I mean, I am practically in the market 24/7, 365 days. I am not tied to a job. I am not tied to an industry. Every industry probably lacks an expert. And anybody and everybody can be an expert, any company can be an expert is what I feel. We can, at this point of time, pick any sector and create any solution in it. So, the market is wide open. Obviously, all the competition currently is concentrated in e-commerce, software, but beyond that, there's a lot to do in India per se, and in the world. So that's what we are trying to do, changing one industry at a time.
My story is obviously very different because I'm into education. And obviously the drift came in 2000, I would say, when I was 29 years old. So I'm a sales marketing person. I started my job in Tata Telecom Bombay. It was a hardcore sales job. And I was shifted to Baroda to head another sales division in Baroda. Then I was shifted to Delhi to head the AT&T division we had. At point of time, you must be using Citibank and all railway applications where you can find your PNR status. So that was launched in 94-95 in Delhi, and I was deputed to DRM office in New Delhi railway station where I was posted for 1 year. And we did testing of all the products of Citibank IVR system of AT&T. I got a scholarship through MBA, as I told you. It was a full scholarship, and the Dean of Business School was in India. And at that time, only 19 students used to study in UK from India. Came back, I got a job in Alcatel Paris. I was there for 1 month. My boss was shifting to India to start up our India Alcatel office, so I moved with him. Worked with him for 1.5 years. Came back to Delhi, Tata Telecom corporate office I shifted to Delhi. So our MD was Mr. VK Gupta, who was from my Kanpur. And he said, what are you doing in Alcatel Bangalore? You are a Delhiite, come to Delhi. So I joined Delhi corporate office, again heading quality of marketing for hospitality segment. And then I told you, like in 99, Mr. Leeds wanted to set up office in India. And they asked me, and I first refused it. Because at that time in Tata Telecom was a boom, like Airtel has, in 99 itself had got launched of their Airtel services in India. And Sunil Bhatt used to sit above our office. We were on the second floor in Devika Das Nehru Place. His office was Beetle office, 10th floor. So he was a customer at that point of time. And we celebrated the launch of Airtel in India at that time. So I got a job offer. Leeds said, you come to Leeds to stay with us for 14 days to see. I'd done my MBA, but I was not doing the marketing for them. I never got into marketing or anything, and it was totally difficult, tough decision to take. But my senior boss who was there, Naren Malhotra, he's from IIT Delhi and he's an entrepreneur. He's like running 6 call centers in Delhi now, Delhi Noida. And he told me that, Pankaj, you are 29. By the time you will be 35, you will be thinking, नौकरी बहुत कर ली, अब कुछ अपना करना है. Here, University of Leeds is giving you opportunity to go, work with them for some time. If you like, you work. Otherwise, Tata Telecom doors are always open. We have taken you twice, we'll take you third time also. So I said, okay, boss. And by chance, our MD, Mr. Gupta, was very close. And because I worked in Gujarat for 1 year again, and our head office was Gandhinagar. So he knew me very well. He said, okay, you go. If you don't like, you come back to India. Come back to India and come with us. So he gave me a 14-day medical leave as per official record. I went to Leeds, stayed there for 14 days. And you'll be surprised, like University of Leeds in 99, I went to the head.
Great. So, on that note, if any of you people have questions to ask, you can raise your hands. We'll carry this panel on for another maybe 15 minutes, maybe 20 minutes, or maybe even less than that. Because Bhatia sir just told me that the director has come, and in a few minutes he'd want to give his ideas and share his thoughts. After which we'll have another panel. But I invite each of you to raise your hands and ask questions. It will be nice if we can have at least two or three questions asked before each of the panelists sort of start replying. And you can also direct your question at a specific panelist. So yeah, questions.
So people say that, you can, if you want to start, you need not worry about a master's. But I feel that for me, it is more important to have a master's degree and have some more confidence on my capability. So how would you judge that? So, if you have an idea, just go about it yourself, just do the research on your own, or have some more contacts and a master's degree maybe in US. And so how would that be helpful? Will it be really helpful if I get
If you have a master's degree, especially suppose when I left my job and I was married and I had a kid, there was a lot of tension that if I don't succeed, what will happen? So if you have a degree, master's degree, which makes sure that even if you try for 2-3 years and you fail, there will be employability in the market. It helps you a lot. It helped me a lot at least. So I don't know, master's degree helps, and which master's degree you have to choose.
So I think I would agree, but of course if you have a bachelor's degree from a tier 1 college which provides you enough cover for taking that test, then that might also work, right? So I think what he's basically saying is that it helps you cover your risk if you have a degree. And I think from a skill perspective, in my own experience, I think it depends from idea to idea, but there's nothing which necessitates that you need a master's degree, need to go out or go to a top tier school. Of course it has some signaling value to it, but there are a lot of entrepreneurs, just by example, who have no master's degrees and are very successful entrepreneurs. As I said, it will depend idea on idea basis, but for most of them, if you go for 60 to 70 to 80% of the ideas, I think it's not a necessity out there, but you might, as he's suggesting, take it for cover.
Yeah, if we just leave it for the cover part, I just want if I want to go into technology. So the mindset of investors, the mindset of people is that if you have a good experience, then they would.
So I think as far as others can comment, as far as I'm seeing investments happening, people are looking for a team which has one technology person and one sales marketing person. That's the ideal team mix they see. And I think none of the technology people have a master's degree out there. So again, you have to see it from the perspective of what is the ideal team to build a company, and you would want both technology and business. And even on the business side, these days it's not people who have an MBA who are the business side of the team. Unfortunately or fortunately, the formula companies which are being invested these days have founders from a top tier school like IIT, all of them from IIT. One saying I know technology, one saying I know business. And there's probably a third one who says I know operations, and they get funded. Again, someone very rightly said that getting funded is not being successful. But because your question is from investor perspective, I don't think they really look. I have not come across investors who say that do you have an MBA or MS, and that is the criteria for you to get funded.
Thank you.
If you see the history of Oyo Room's founder, you can yourself understand. He's a very young 22-year-old entrepreneur who has done a lot of work in the room segment, hotel segment.
Yeah. My take is, believe it or not, NSIT is probably as good a safety net as you will have. I don't think there's a bigger safety net. You can, even if you fail, you can go back to the market, 2 months, you get a good job. Absolutely no worries.
If you write code, you're not going to have trouble getting a job, so don't bother about it. If it's a case of confidence, you can get confidence without a master's, so that's not required. For raising money, it's mostly about a network. Being in a master's from a good college helps you with a better network, which can potentially lead to good introductions. Again, not necessary that you require that. So find other ways, alternative solutions. I had made a decision way early in my bachelor's that I'm never going to study again after my bachelor's.
The startup ecosystem, I would want to ask, what are the changes in the current education system that you think can be brought about to encourage the culture of startups? That is one of my questions. And the second question is that, well, that question goes out to the person who's working with Haptik. So now there are a lot of startups in similar spaces which are trying to, run several markets. So how important is it to actually have an investment, and how difficult or easy is it to raise investment? What are the various factors that count while raising an investment?
Great. Can you introduce yourself and what you're doing right now?
Okay, so my name is Sahil Pruthi, and I graduated from NSIT in 2015, and I'm a software developer at a Fortune 500 firm.
Great. Here, Ravish, answer.
Okay, one more question. Okay, so 3 questions actually. So the third question is that all the panelists that we have are mostly tech entrepreneurs. Well, is it a very big barrier for somebody who's completely a person from a DU to actually take up entrepreneurship? Because, well, that's a very big question that a lot of people have, considering it's not COE and IT that NSIT has a very large section of the society as well.
Let me try to answer the second part of your question and a little bit more. But first, let Ravish answer the question that is specifically directed to the Haptik guy.
So we started up in 2013. After them, Swapan put in their own money. We did not raise money for a year. I think specifically you should try to avoid raising money until as late as you can. Raising money is difficult and it's not difficult. It's funny in that way. It depends on who you raise money from. It's very important that these people understand your long-term vision. We got very good investors because of that. Akhil would not have had problem raising money even in the beginning, but he just didn't want to make sure that we have control over the product long-term. So you have to think it through. You have accelerators nowadays who are ready to give money to a lot of young kids. So T-Labs gave to InShots and all these kids who are still in the 3rd year of college when they dropped out. Keeping that in mind, the one thing, like your first part of your question, the one thing I'd like to see, which a lot of IITs are now doing, is letting kids drop out for a certain period of time, take a sabbatical, try out a startup, and if it doesn't work for them, come back. So I would love to see more colleges do that.
Okay, now DTU I think has taken up a very good step by which that the students who graduate from NSI or DTU can sit for the placement till the 6th year. Can we also have like...
Sahil, I'll tell you what, after this there's going to be one more track called Taking the Technology track after NSIT. And over there, we'll have an equally eminent panel, around 2/3 or more of which will be entrepreneurs. So, and some of those people are people who have actually got the basis to give a much better answer to this question. So, it will be great, like if you just wait a little, and at that point, you will get a far, far, far better answer to your question. Okay.
At Bangalore, I was placement head at IIM Bangalore. We decided that to promote entrepreneurship, because we used to have an incubator, we will allow people to come back. If you opt out of placement on year 2004, you can come back in 2007 and get placed for 3 or 4 years. We used to allow that, and that helped us. Our batch at IIM Bangalore is probably had produced most entrepreneurs. Urban, I don't know how many, some 10, 11, who are still entrepreneurs after 10 years. So a little change, and this is not academic change, but this is a process change that, if the campus can allow 1 or 2 year break to the students, if they opt out from the placement that year, if they allow after 2 years, it will definitely help. Because
if you want to decide to go for entrepreneurship or not, right? Which is the top interest in your mind when you're taking that decision, according to all of you? Like when you take the decision to go for entrepreneurship, what is the main factor which pinches your mind? Like, should I go for it or not?
I think that might change from people to people.
Yes. But, yeah, and how to take that decision and hold on to it after that?
So I think there could be multiple fears, right? Starting from top down, starting from whether I'll make a $1 billion company to saying whether I'll be successful, to whether I'll be able to raise money, to be able to hire the right team, right, etc., etc., etc. Or someone else will raise more money than me or have a better team, etc., right? Or is a useless business, etc., right? So I don't know. Or you know, the opportunity cost could be a big thing in your mind that, you know, I'll do this for 2 years. Even if I get a job after that, people who started at the same time as me might, you know, go ahead, more ahead than I am. In my own personal case, I think for me what worked was that I was naive. I thought it's easy. Right, and I thought it's an easy business to build. I'll go, we just work hard and things happen. If I knew how hard it was and it turned out to be, probably I wouldn't have got into it. So I say that naivety is the biggest strength of an entrepreneur. You need to dream and be naive that things can happen which have not been thought of before. So yeah, that's my orthogonal or tangential answer to the question.
This is a MSc and we have been having a lot of students. Before 3 years was the boom in realty estate, property management. Last 2-3 years, a lot of students are going into enterprise courses in UK.
With the idea, you will take some time out to work on it, and eventually something will come out of it. It's that simple. Obviously, society is going to pull you back, your friends are going to pull you back, everything else. But I guess the belief in the idea.
Yeah, it's actually there is almost no cost to build a prototype. But for hardware, you like raising just money, you have to raise money even to get an initial traction. So how do you deal with that?
Units of sales. The first step is obviously to make those first 25 units. The second step is to make those 100 units. The third step is to make those 1,000 units. So it's a gradual process. And believe it or not, the first 25 units are going to tell you what all is wrong in your product. And in this day and age, prototyping is probably the easiest than it have ever been. So small quantity productions is the way to go about it, and then you can always scale up. There's always manufacturing capacity available on demand across the world, be it India, be it China. So this thing that hardware startups require money, true, but that money is not investment, that is just working capital. And working capital loans or working capital fundings are much easier to raise as compared to upfront investment funding. So always go for small quantities first, and you can plan for higher quantities later. You can't just plan 1 million units in the first shipment.
Can you?
I'm not sure if people recognize me. I'm the guy who is doing, asking for help for technical or maybe, like co-founder for my startups called Flash Shia. And what I really want from everybody here is that we should have some point, that where we can get some help. Like for example, I encounter a lot of issues. Like my co-founder left, my engagement broke because he wanted a well-settled guy, like you said. My relatives threw me out of my house because they wanted me to get a job and get married.
So wanting to connect and get help. So let me give and I've also interacted with you in the past, Sumit, so I can give an answer which is both generic and tailored to you. See, the first thing about you per se, Sumit, is that, see, if you are asking somebody for help, right, you have to first build a channel of communication. Like if you are walking on the road and some guy says कि sir जी मुझे पता है आप ये जानते हो, आओ मेरा कंप्यूटर ठीक कर दो. So you will say कि यार मेरे डैड मेरे पीछे 6 महीनों से पड़े हैं, मैं क्यों किसी सड़क पे चलते फिरते अजनबी का कंप्यूटर ठीक करूं? But if you have a channel of communication with somebody and the person has some understanding as to what help you need. So if you know that somebody has a specific problem, you'll say that अगर तुम्हारे कंप्यूटर में ये खराबी है तो तुम ले जाओ XYZ के पास 500 रुपए में ठीक हो जाएगा. The same way, if you are reaching out to the alumni network, the first thing is to try to contribute to the network and be someone who is visible, at least to the extent that a person you ask for help can relate to where you are coming from.
More relevant thing should be the college should have a entrepreneur cell or an incubator where some investment should be done by alumni in terms of people who've done their well in life. They can invest some money in that. They probably can come and invest. That is more relevant than you probably going to a single alumni. There has to be an anchor college, or it's only college which can act as an anchor. Nobody else will act as an anchor.
The the mentorship, and the people were really interested.
I don't know who will party us serve properly, or I don't know who will do it. I have come here after 16 years, so I don't know.
Uh,